Hello, Earth beings and Earth lovers and people of the way. I am here today, actually a couple of days late. Today's the 25th. Just been a very busy 4 days, so I didn't get on it right there on the cusp there. Uh, but we are now in the flowering time. The last period of time was the growing time, and now we're in the flowering time. So out in my backyard, the rose vines are just like full of flowers. And in the front yard, the pink roses are starting to come out. And I was at a friend's house, and the wild lavender just suddenly sprung up. So flowering time, and the totem animal, birth totem animal for this month is the deer, the gentle deer, the high-strung deer. You know, one interesting thing that I found out is that before the mating time, actually the deer tend to congregate with their own gender. And then as it gets to be mating time, then they come closer. Make of that what you will. And the totem, the clan, this is part of the butterfly clan. It's air, just like in the astrology, where Gemini is an air sign. And so this is a time of a lot of communication and blossoming. And I like to think of it, if you go through the houses or even through the signs, like where you have Aries that's kind of bursting forth, and then having, manifested the self, then Taurus, wants to, draw things into itself, accumulate things, possessions and stuff. But in learning to do that, then learns, a certain amount of steadfastness and also, last time I was saying restraint from present, instant gratification, for the sake of results, for the sake of bearing fruits, both in terms of accumulation in the present and also in the future, when your hard work will bear fruit. So those are still fairly, uh, associated with the self, the individual personality. All of a sudden, then, the self begins to discover that there are others out of there. Begins to discover words and symbols and the power of communication. So then, it's like the butterfly and the bee flitting about, here and there, not necessarily to any great depth, not necessarily communicating to to the core of things, or for a long time. But the discovery of, getting out there and communicating with other people. And in the case of the birds, the bees, and the butterflies, it brings about there's the flowering is going on, and there's a lot of pollination, taking place, going one step further after the growth period, then the flowering, and then the pollination, all contributing to this process of, bearing fruit. And, once again, then if you look across at the polarity axis, then, polarity of the deer, you have the owl, the wise one. So it starts planting the seeds or pollinating the seeds of communication, and establishing, that ability to be able to tune into others and communicate. But it hasn't yet gone through the second phase of air, which is Libra, where it's developing relationships, and then getting to, the polarity totem, which is Sagittarius in the case of astrology, and the deer, the owl, in the case of the earth medicine, where, the pollination, the communication, and the relationships have borne fruit. And so then you begin to develop more like the owl, the wisdom of the owl. And you're also here, we're still, in terms of, in terms of earth energy, it's, the earth is, in a really creative phase right now of, producing the flowers. But, when you look at the solar energy, the sun energy, the reason why all of this creative energy is stimulated by the earth is because this is the time when the cycle of the sun, the yang cycle of the year, the oak cycle of the year, is reaching its maximum from May 21st to June 22nd. The days, have been getting longer, and during this period of time, during this month, the Earth is going to receive the most solar radiation that it receives all year, the most sunshine that it receives all year. The days, the sun's going to set later and later, and then all of a sudden, it's going to, after June 22nd, it will reach the longest day of the year, and then it will begin to decline. So this is a high energy time, and everybody that I've talked to, from Maryland, to Texas, to this area out here in California, I've been meeting with them, and they spontaneously say, this is a time of high energy. It's like if you're stuck, you feel the energy zooming all around you. If you tune in, then, whoa, it's like just things happen. It's almost magical. It's like the veils are breaking down between dimensions, and, physically and spiritually, there's a lot of energy. So I guess just in closing, I'll say, okay, well, suppose you want to, not be fighting it, not feeling, like the restlessness and everything without any way to channel it. It's like how, and you want to move over into like where, whoa, it's like you're tapped into it. And it's almost miraculous. You find yourself getting a lot of things done. So how do we move from, the inactivity with the energy all around us, which can create a lot of tension, to being in harmony with this time where, you are a part of this unfolding of the creative process that's taking place. By the way, I'll just mention, one person yesterday was saying that this has something to do with a special alignment of Jupiter and Mars, kind of like it says in the song, when the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars. Moon's not in the 7th house right now, but I believe it's, well, I'm not even going to say, but Jupiter is aligning with Mars. That's something that somebody said. I'm no expert on that. But I will say, you want to move from the one and get into, and participate together with the cosmos in this blossoming time, this blooming time, this flowering time. So my advice is, don't think. Don't do anything. And keep your mouth shut. Now, when you try to do that, just like me, right? Am I keeping my mouth shut? No, it's impossible. And the same way, you say, don't think, and then, all of a sudden you'll find maybe you don't think for an instant, but then something comes in. And don't do anything. This sounds, really strange, but what I'm talking about here is Wu Wei. Because when you take the time to pause and to breathe, and I recommend 21 circular breaths a day. That's natural breathing. Here, I'll give you an example. You breathe, and I'm going to say first, you breathe in through the nose, you don't push it, you don't hold it in. As soon as your lungs get to the point, just like a balloon where they've expanded, and then they start to deflate, then you just let it naturally flow, deflate. And the same way, breathing out. Don't force everything all out at the end. Don't hold it out there. Just once it's gone out and your lungs naturally want to fill again, just like get into that flow. What in the Islamic world they call the breath of life. Expansion and contraction. So I'll just give you an example, 2 breaths. So just do that, at least just take time for 21 breaths a day. And while you do it, relax, become aware of your body. And, one way to not think is just to go, is to put the thought in your mind during that for a time and go, what will my next thought be? This comes from Eckhart Tolle, and it works. He goes, what will my next thought be? You ask your mind that, and suddenly you don't think because you're looking, to see what your next thought would be. And, stop the thinking and get into the body and breathe and then be in the now. And then, what happens when you do that? What happens if you sit there and you're going to think, okay, I'm not going to think, I'm not going to do anything, and I'm not going to, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Well, interestingly enough, you open yourself to 2 influences. One is, because you're not so focused, your attention and your intention are not so focused on what I have to do. I have to do this. It's like getting the monkey off your back. It's like, because of that, then all of a sudden, you've created a vacuum. So just on this material plane of consciousness, you have created a vacuum where things are drawn to you. And so then you can be aware of the opportunities, and you can pick and choose how you want to respond to those opportunities. Secondly, the other thing is that when you empty your mind like that and you calm yourself, you cease thinking, you cease activity, and you cease speech. And you become empty. Like in the Bible, in the Greek, they call it kenosis, empty yourself. Then you also open yourself to spirit. So you get a combination where there are opportunities out there, but also there is, you get in harmony with the way. You get in harmony with the Holy Spirit. Whatever your religious language is, that which guides you from a higher dimension, the one and the many. You tune into these, and then it's like, so you may find yourself spontaneously then, being inspired to respond to opportunities. And those days when you sit there and say, I'm not going to do anything, I'm not going to think, and I'm not going to keep my mouth shut, suddenly at the end of the day you look and you go, well, that was amazing. I really, got a lot of inspiration today, and a lot got done. And, praise, once again, whatever your language is. It's like the Desiderata says, be at peace with God, whatever your conception of him may be. And then also, you're filled with gratitude. And gratitude is another source of power. To just say, thank you, thank you, and then, then because this is what I'm talking about, moving from a state where you're blocked to a state where you are participating together in the blossoming of the universe, the blossoming of the earth, the energy of our sun and our solar system and the cosmos, working in harmony with it all. It's like, that's where we want to get to be, So learn to practice the way of wu-wei, doing by not doing. Open your mind to the principle of neti, not this, not that. Emptying yourself so that, the universe, God, the way, the Holy Spirit, angels, woman that was at a thing last night, said, when she opens the interdimensional beings, she experiences them as dragons, and they lift her up, and like in that movie about that kid, she goes flying on their back. That may not be your experience, but be open in that way. Participate in this wonderful time of blossoming. Thank you very much, and may the force be with you.